Hi guys, welcome to a short tutorial on how to use or how to get the Google search results and use them in Rivet. For this tutorial we will be using Serper because they offer a very simple and reliable API to do this, and best of all is, basically you can get 2,500 free queries, so that's a lot. I assume this will be more than enough for for everyone who's not trying to use this professionally in the end and build a real project on it. And as it also states here, you do not need to add any payment data or anything, so don't worry about being built. Yeah, quick word, I have no affiliation to them. I just used them as well in another project I'm building. So basically what you do is just sign up here. I think you can also just connect your Google account or something, and then it's super simple. Right. Okay, once you're signed up, you will just sign in, and then you can get your account, and you can see I've been doing 516 requests and I still have 1,900 left. So as I said, it's a lot. And the most important thing is here. Here you can get your API key. And you will need this, of course, in the Rivet project. I will show you then. And then we have the playground. And in this playground, we can actually use it to see all the parameters we need. First of all, don't worry about my API key being shown here. I will just reset this one. There's a reset button here, so I will just set it back to another key after this video is done. And usually what you would see is, I think Node.js is standard, you see how you can now integrate this API with all those parameters into some programming language. And you can also check out the results. So it's a bit like the ChatGPT playground. If you've used that one, you can change parameters, you can search, and you can see what happens. Of course, we don't need it this way because we want to do it in Rivet. So I think the easiest thing I found was the HTTP view, because it gives us a very good list of all the parameters we need. And let's also reset all the standard parameters so that we can know what all the parameter names are. Yeah, and we will only do it for the search. And there's also options to go for the image search, videos, and so on. So then some things would change and some parameters would change. But let's now focus on searching for a keyword and wanting to get the results for that. And very quickly, as you can see here, this is how the results will look. So you get really basically all the information you will also have when you do the Google search yourself. For example, you also get knowledge graphs. This is like the special box about the Apple company that Google will show when you are searching for Apple Inc., with all the lots of data about the company. Then you will get the organic results, as you can see here. So this is one organic result with the title, with the link, the snippet, so a short description, and the site links, and of course the position, and so on and so on. So you basically get all the data that you will need and much more. So in this request, we don't see all the data at all, but there's also related searches, and there will be ratings of website if there were ratings of websites. Sometimes it also shows the ads that has been, so the paid search results that have been on top. So you basically get everything you need, and yeah, you can access it from lots of different countries. So if you want results from Germany, that is not an issue. So you can be specific about this, and this all works. Okay, but now let's jump into Rivet. I copied this part of how the request could look out of the playground, so we can take a look what all our parameters are. So let's have a look on this. So basically, we can see if we look at this that we need to do a post request. That is typically if we want to send off some form or some data. Then we can see that our host, that means the domain we need to send the request to is google.serper.dev, and we need our root here is /search. So we know how to build our URL for the request. Then, of course, very important, we know that we need to set our access token as XAPI key, and we need to set the content type application JSON, and then down here we have all those parameters. So for example, Q, This is where the query goes in, and GL is where the country goes in, and HL is where the language goes in, and autocorrect, and so on. So, what I did now and already prepared so that we don't have to do it together now, because it takes a bit, is I've created inputs for all of this already. And I also inserted values for them. So let's remove this up here. So let's start with the lower ones here. So most important, there is the query. By the way, I renamed those nodes so that they are easier to read, but I put what type of node they are in the brackets here, text, so you can still see this is a text node, but it's now supposed to hold the query. So maybe we are searching for chocolate cookie recipes in country US with English, and we want the autocorrection to be on. We are searching on page 1 of the search results for this word, and we want 10 results. Pretty straightforward. Now, the one thing we need to adjust is this here. This is the serper API key. And for this, we are using the context. The context is a pretty interesting thing because basically you can go to the project setting here and you can set some additional variables here that not everyone is supposed to have. So I set the API key in here, as you can see. So I pressed add context value, and now I have to add something that is named the same as I named it in the node here. So it needs to be serper underscore API underscore key, and this is what I created here. And the value is, of course, the API key. And I also tick this to make it hidden. I mean, you saw my key before, so it does not matter now. But the important thing about this is, if you do it like this, and you share the project with someone else, you will not share your secret key. So if I share this project here, this is not going to be included in your project and someone else, and you need to set it up yourself. So that is a way of protecting your keys. It's kind of like environment variables in usual software programming. Okay, so basically this is what this does here. This is getting, so we can run it. This is getting the key, and this is the key from before. So at least here now, when you run it, you can see it. Okay, now what we need to do is two things. So after you added your API key and you have this in here, we need to create a header and body content for the request, and we need to fetch the data. And for this, maybe let's start at the back of it. So we need to make an HTTP call. And as you can see at the moment, this does not have inputs, and I mean, we cannot hard code all those, so that doesn't make sense. So we need to make the inputs available. And what do we need? I mean, we can probably just select post here. As I said before, we need a post request, and we don't need this as an input for, so let's just do post. And the URL, I mean, we can put it here. We can use it as an input. Let's maybe use an input for this, but it's optional. But what we will need to be dynamic are the headers and the body. And for those, there are these buttons here, which now state use an input port for headers. Let's tick it on. And the same for this one. Now we can see our HTTP call is using post, and we have three inputs: the URL, the headers, and the body. So let's create those three inputs. So, and I will also name them so that we can probably see. So URL is a text, URL goes here. Then we need an object for the headers, because those ports both, as you can see here, if you hover them, they expect an object. So this is expecting JSON, actually a JSON object. And this one can take a string, but as we saw in the playground, this is also expecting an object. Because maybe let's quickly go back to this. We can see it here. This is clearly an object. Okay, and also while I'm here, I can copy the port because I didn't copy it before. And we can put this in here. So, and it was /search, I hope. But I'm very sure about this. Okay, now we need an object for the headers. And for this, we also need to take our two things here. So we need the XAPI key and the content type. I'm not sure why it's adding the content length. It's not necessary. It's a bit odd. It's also not adding it in all the languages. So I don't really understand what it's doing there. So we are going back here. And now let's put that in. And of course, this is not valid JSON yet, but we will make it now. So let's put this in. And let's indent it, and let's add the key value pairs we need. This, this, and this, and this. And there also needs to be a comma. So yeah, so this needs to be proper valid JSON syntax. And of course, this here, we want to be from, I mean, you could put the key just in there. It's fine. It works. You can do it like this, but if we don't do it in the nice way, we will just, you create an input variable here. So whenever we, in most of the, at least in most of those input fields here, if you create, this double brackets, open them and close them, you can, and the name, you create a new input. This does not work everywhere. Be aware of that. You need to test it out. Not every node has this capability, but this object node has it. And now, yeah, we basically have our first part. Those are the headers. And we're now connecting the serper API key here. And then we can already put this in headers, and the URL can go here. And we're already half part done, as you can see. Now we need a last object. It was a bit dumb for me to delete this object up here, because now I always have to go back to the website, but oh well. Because now we also need the body. So we need to have, what are we posting? What are we sending as input variables over to the application to be used? So let's go one time back, and now we are copying this out here. Okay, we're going here, and this is already a valid JSON, as you can JSON, as you can see. I will just make it look a bit nicer so that we can easier read and edit it. And now basically what we will need to do is we need to add lots of variables. So we need to add one here, and this is the query. We need to add one here. Yeah. Okay, I messed up, sorry. And this is the country. Let's just copy, it's easier. So we need the language. Okay, one thing we now need to be careful about is there is a difference if something is a string or not. So those are of course all strings. The query is a text. Those are too. But here you can see this is not a string because there is no quotation marks. So this should not be passed in as a string, because most likely the API will reject this if we do. So we need to not add the quotation marks. Very important here. And this is now the autocorrect input field. And please also note the editor at the moment tells us that this is wrong. But it's okay. It will realize once it gets the input values that it works. But for the moment, the validation here is telling us that this is not going to work. Because yeah, it doesn't look like proper syntax at the moment for it. Okay, and this is results. So now we set up lots of inputs. We set up query, country, language, autocorrect, page, and results, and we just connect all those up. Our query, our country, our local, so our language, our autocorrect setting, if we want this on or not, our page, and our results. And all this is going to the body. And basically, let's see if we messed up. No, basically that's it. And to make this a bit more readable, because at the moment, as you can see, it's a bit hard to tell this, let's add one more node. And this doesn't make too much sense now, because we're using, instead of the JSON output, the body and using extract JSON again. but I like to use this because we can just make it easier to look at it. So usually if you want to process this data, just use the JSON output. But for this case now, you will see why I like to do it this way, because now we are getting a well-structured JSON in this one node we can look at. So we can basically see we have been searching for chocolate cookie recipes for US, English with 10 results. The autocorrect is true, page 1. We are searching in Google and we are showing search results for this. And then we're getting our results. And yeah, here we already have a result where we get much more data. So for example, for the first organic result in the list, we also get ratings from users and how many ratings. We're getting a link to an image and so on. And yeah, that's it. That's the first step to get the results in. And basically now it's up to you to use them any way you like it. I hope this helped you. And if you'd like to see more, just tell me how you would like to see this continued. If there's any other feedback on this video, that would also be super helpful. And generally, please like and subscribe. Okay, see you.